way down in Devon, I had to stop off here. Lovely picturesque spot. I'd introduce this new 997 coming into stock. 30,000 miles, manual coupe, lovely Atlas grey car. Like I say, 30,000 miles, very, very low miles, this car. So yeah, here it is. I may feature it later in a video. I've actually been down here twice in 2 days. I came down to this exact spot yesterday in the new Touareg that you saw in the last video, and it started going into limp mode. It's been diagnosed today as having an injector, so I had to abort mission and return home. This is the spot where I turned around yesterday. Anyway, got it on the second time of asking. Look at that view. But there's a better view. I'm going to hit the road. This is what you get when you pick a car up from Devon, apparently. So here we are then. That was a very long day. It's 9:30 in the evening now. I think I set off at about 11. But anyway, it was well worth it. It's a lovely car. Atlas grey is a gorgeous colour. So it's the following day. I've got the 997 out in the glorious sunshine. Just to take a second look over it and make sure I don't miss anything before I order all the bits. So here are the bump stops. Absolutely shot to pieces. There you go. And this car's only done 30,000 miles, so if your 911 hasn't had a set of these in its life, that's what they'll probably look like. The top mounts have got some surface corrosion. You wouldn't usually change those on their own if the bump stop didn't need doing. But as that whole suspension leg's going to come down, as ever, I'll order the top mounts, bump stops and bearings, and we'll do the whole lot in one hit. I've got the rear of the car jacked up. I've been under there having a look at that wetness we've got to the rear of the engine. I've actually had Matt at Porsche Care on video call to have a look as well. Seems to be coming from the tandem pump area, which these are prone to, the 997s. However, there's an invoice in the paperwork not so long ago for a new tandem pump. So we think this oil and wetness could have been made by the previous tandem pump before the renewal, and they just haven't cleaned it up nicely. And the chap had this car in its own garage. It was a brand new garage he built just for the car. He was a builder, and the floor was absolutely immaculate. So this might not be leaking. So what I've been doing, this is why it looks particularly wet at the moment, is degreasing the area up. I've got a pressure washer behind me ready, and I'm going to pressure wash that off, and I'm going to drive the car around for a couple of days and see if anything comes back. And when it goes down to Porsche Care to do those front bump stops, we can have a look if it needs anything doing. But yeah, have a second look under that engine and under the car. Wonderfully clean. You can tell that's been garaged and not done many miles. I'm also going to order the stone guard. Might take a little while to come because it's going to be a Porsche main dealer part, that. Because it's a dark car, you can just see that slight delamination lets it down. I've also got a plan on ordering. This is something that really winds me up. Maybe I'm a little bit sad, but the key emblems always go missing, and people don't buy another one and glue it in, so it just looks tatty on the key. That just really winds me up. So I'll order one of those just to show what sort of chap the previous owner was. Someone, the eagle-eyed of you, might have noticed the rear of the car. It's got the facelift rear lights in it that he's put in. He obviously liked the look of them, but he's kept the original lights with it. They're absolutely in perfect condition, so I think I'm going to put those back in. So the car's absolutely original. It's been on the trickle charger in its own garage, one of those chargers that talks to the battery and tops it up as and when it needs some power. I've got that, and it's got a genuine Porsche fitted cover that it was underneath in its own little garage, so I'll leave that with the car as well. So yeah, beautiful thing. I'll keep you posted with that. I got the Touareg back. Again, Porsche Care fix. That was an injector. So as you saw, I had to go back down with that old Honda. 2 trips to Devon in 2 days. It wasn't fun. Anyway, catch you in a bit. Okay, so I'm back down at my second home. I haven't been under this car yet, but I've been told it's in good shape. So actually we'll start at the front. The buzzword. Stops, top mounts and bearings have all been done. Getting pretty bored of mentioning that. And then the other thing I did was clean off the tandem pump where the leak was coming from. And it seems to remain dry. I said in the video it'd been done recently, there was an invoice for it, but it was actually 5 years ago. And that's, you know, kind of what it looks like. So we're gonna leave that now. I did about 200-300 miles in the car since I cleaned it up, and yeah, there's no wetness come back, so we'll leave that. Just having a general look under the car. Again, it looks tidy. The back boxes are very good. They're not split along the seams. Someone's been over the brake lines already and protected them, as you can see. The brake discs, as per the advert, are pretty new all round. They've not done many miles whatsoever. They've been over the car. It doesn't need coffin arms like a lot of them do, as you've seen in the previous videos. So yeah, the car's good to go. It's a really lovely, clean, low mileage example. It's also had a minor service. Not that it needed one, it's covered next to no miles since the last service. I think that's about it. Unless I'm not forgetting anything, am I? It's pretty early in the morning. It's about, what is it, 7:15 in the morning? Yeah. My brain doesn't work that well at this time of day. Right, let's get it down then, I'm gonna leave. I'm back in the showroom. I've got the 997 back. They've been all over it. They couldn't find anything else that I hadn't already found. It makes a change actually. There wasn't even any brake lines to clean up and protect. They'd already been done. So all we've done is the bump stops, top mounts and bearings, minor service, and check that tandem pump that I cleaned up. And it hadn't got any moisture on it since I'd cleaned it up whatsoever. And I'd done 200 or 300 miles. I've been driving it around recently, which is an absolute chore. And yeah, it's absolutely fine. So we've left that. He says it looks fine. So yeah, anyway, a bit of news. What standout car is missing? The Ocean Jade car. It's gone today. And in place, somebody just searched up the YouTube video, saw it, fell in love, and decided to exchange their lovely Arctic Silver 996 C4. So I'll spin the camera around and show you around. It's a Carrera 4, coupe, manual gearbox, non-sunroof model, and it's just in absolutely gorgeous condition. A real credit to the previous guy who's come down and part exchange today. In fact, I was so happy with it, I ended up giving him £1,000 more than the price I'd quoted via email before he came. We've got an absolute stack of paperwork like that with the car. But if I start with a couple of faults that I found on the inspection this morning. I'll start it up. That was fine then, but basically the starter motor is lazy when the car's hot. So he came down, drove all the way up here to look at the Ocean Jade car, and of course the car was hot when he got here. When I jumped inside it, it's just lazy on the starter. Now, if it only does it when it's hot and not when it's cold, that can often be the wiring to the starter motor. So it could be the earth or it could be the wiring itself. So maybe, hopefully, it might be that. We'll see what Porsche Care can do with its magic wand. If not, we'll have to put a starter motor on it. Secondly, the front bumper, this is very common. If I can get the camera to focus, there we go. It's just got some hazing right on the nose there, so he'd have touched a wall or something there. The bumper would have flexed, it's cracked the paint, and then when he's moved away from the wall, the bumper's popped back out to where it should be, but it's just left that cracking and hazing to the paint, which is really annoying. If you stand back, even there, you can't even see it on a silver car. That'd be more notable on a black car. So we probably will end up having to get that painted. The last thing, underneath the engine bay, Rear main seal is absolutely dry, solenoid seals are dry, chain tension is dry, but we've got some wetness right near the sump plug, and it's dry all around the gasket for the sump pan. So I think that's just coming from the sump plug itself. So we'll give it a minor service, put a new sump plug washer on there, and that should sort that. So that's it in the way of faults. Now the things it's got going for it, put the steering on full lock. If you look in here, it's had the suspension upgraded to the MO30 Sports package a couple of years ago, which means new dampers, new anti-roll bars, new springs, also lowers the car by 10mm as we know, as we've spoken about. It's also had new lower control arms that you can see there on the front. If we go up here, I'm sorry if it's poor footage, it's had new top mounts, bump stops and bearings. So the whole front suspension is pretty much new. It's also got, while we're there, all but new brake discs and pads. The rears are the same. And it's already had the EPS IMS bearing upgrade, as well as the clutch, flywheel and rear main seal. There's loads of other work. I'm gonna have to go through the paperwork and detail it all in the advert. We've got, you know, very good Pirelli P0 tyres. It's had the air conditioning condensers done in the front a couple of years ago. He's then had the mesh put in there, which doesn't look all that attractive, but it protects those condensers. They're not that outrageous actually in a satin black. They're worse when they're chrome, when they have to come out immediately. But anyway, I'm waffling a little bit here. I'll get the car down to Porsche Care and see what he can do about the starter motor and keep you updated. Got a little sneak, something over there as well. But anyway, I shall catch you in a bit. It's the next day. I've got the Carrera 4 sat here in front of me. Been working on it this afternoon. Giving it a hand polish already. It didn't require a machine polish, thankfully. But I thought I'd show you this glamorous job that I'm carrying out. So if we come to the inside, although the interior is in good condition, or really lovely condition actually, the leather seats are pretty shiny. And shiny leather means that's covered in dirt. It shouldn't be shiny like that. It should be more of a satin or a matte finish. So what I'm doing, I'm going to cover the leather in leather cleaner, work it in with a coarse brush, but one that's not coarse enough to scratch or damage the leather itself. Wipe it off before it dries with a bright and clean microfiber cloth so you can see all the dirt coming off. We've then got a side bolstering here that's discoloured along this part here. It's very usual. That's obviously where it wears when people get in and out. So what I've got here, you can buy these kits. They're not cheap, they're about £40, but that's colour-coded leather dye, specifically made for that colour, which is Metropole blue. I've got the other common colours. I've got black, space grey, and graphite grey. So I'll work that in. I'll sort that discolouring out. And then lastly, these sports hardback seats, which are the sought after seats in these cars, they often become unclipped along the bottom here. So I'll get an interior prong and get that back into place and show you the end result. All done. That was about an hour of hard graft, I'd say, all told. Hopefully the camera shows it, but that seat is far less shiny than it was. Still a little bit of a sheen to it, but much better. I've then coloured that driver's bolster, as I said. That's an absolutely perfect colour match. I'm really happy with that. Got the interior prongs out and re-clipped that back into place as it should be. So that looks good. So yeah, that is a really tidy interior. You wouldn't think it was 20 years old anyway. A couple of tips, how I do it anyway. When tackling the seats, tackle one panel at a time rather than trying to do the whole seat. So when you're spraying all that interior cleaner on and then you're working it in with the brush and then wiping it off, just do that one panel, because otherwise by the time you've done the whole seat and you come back to wipe off the bit that you started on, it will be dry and you just have dried dirt there. So yeah, one panel at a time. Another tip, when you're spraying the seats, for example, if I'm spraying this area here, you're going to get a bit of overspray into the back seats or onto that door card or whatever. And if you don't wipe that off before it dries as well on the back seats, you'll end up with the equivalent of watermarks. So if you clean your own car, you know, watermarks are an absolute pain. So just be wary of that too. But yeah, that looks brilliant in there now. And it matches the outside. So the car's outside in the kind of photo area. Got the plates on the front. Just about to take the pictures and get it on the website. So stay tuned. Right, we've got the car on the ramp for the first time. And basically we've just confirmed the good car that I knew it was from all the paperwork and inspecting it back in the showroom. Beautifully clean underneath. The new MO30 suspension, you get a new anti-roll bar, 4 new dampers, new springs. On the front end, the same again. We've also got those new arms we saw in the paperwork and spotted earlier on. The brake lines are all lovely and clean. We spoke about the top mounts, bump stops and bearings being done. You can see they're new. Brake lines along the seals are all absolutely pristine. Air conditioning pipe along the seal, also pristine. I've just been told it's probably in the top 10 996s I've had underneath. So all we're doing, quick oil change. It's only done 3,500 miles and a year since the last one. Not too bad. But while we're here, we're changing that. We had that little weep from the sump plug, so I have a new washer put on there. Solve that. Exhaust box is in really good condition. Manifold's not too bad. That's about all. Lovely GT Silver 997 turbo he's got in here at the moment. Really like that. Thought I'd just take a quick film of it while they're in there filling up the oil. Cleaned up the starter motor cabling as well, so hopefully that's going to speed up that lazy starter a little bit. Lovely thing. Ah, that is a bit quicker. The car's right up to temperature now. They've had it running so they can set the oil temperature. And that starter motor wasn't too slow then, so happy days. I'm back at Friends Green Porsche. Got the Carrera 4 here, just back from Porsche Care. Very high praise from Matt to say it's in the top 10 996s that I've had, because he's very highly critical. He's a bit of a perfectionist, so yeah, that's good news. All we did was the oil and filter change. The oil was pretty fresh, as you saw, and cleaned up the earth cable to the starter motor, which has made that starter motor not lazy anymore. It's up to temperature. But anyway, what I'm going to do now, I've got the 997 here. I'm going to go out for a spin in it and tell you a bit more about it. So out in the 997 then, and I've actually done a few hundred miles in this car since we took delivery of it about a week ago, I think it was. And that's because I wanted to see if after I'd cleaned up that wet area near the tandem pump, I wanted to see if it would get wet again. And it hasn't. All was well there, so that's a bit of luck. But yeah, I've really been enjoying this car. 36,000 miles on the clock on a 55 reg. That's really hard to come by, one with that low miles, and it just feels, to be honest, it feels new. It's utterly tight. The engine pulls exactly exactly as it should. The car is just exactly as Porsche intended for it to be. Obviously in preparation, we did those bump stops, top mounts and bearings. I know, buzzword from this YouTube channel, I keep mentioning them in every video. But the top mounts didn't have a problem, so they weren't causing the car not to handle very well, or to be loose through the steering or knock or anything like that. It was just those perished bump stops. That's the only reason we did it. So it didn't change the way the car drives. But anyway, they've been done now. Fresh bill of health up there. We also did the minor service, not that it needed it. It literally done 150 miles since the last oil change, and that was about 9 or 10 months ago. So it didn't really need it doing, but we were down at Porsche Care anyway, so there you go. It's another stamp in the book. It's absolutely fresh then for the new owner. So yeah, the car's ready to go. I'll pull over in a minute and I'll talk through the spec, but I'm going to stop waffling for the minute. I'm going to put it into sports mode on the PASM suspension, turn the traction control off, and have a bit of fun in it. I'm getting pretty good at finding these spots to take videos of the cars. If I ever get bored of selling Porsches, I'll take up a career in photography. Anyway, here's the 997. Now, spec-wise, this one's absolutely fully loaded. So what have we got? We've got the steering wheel controls for the radio and so forth, which is very useful. Bose sound system that comes with built-in subwoofers behind the rear seats. Very good option to have that. Really good sound quality. Sports hardback seats with the shoulder supports, which I needed just now during that spirited driving. We've also got Alcantara suede headlining. A nice touch, much nicer than the plastic headlining that comes as standard. Of course, the sunroof there, which, although, you know, I've noted in previous videos I prefer without, on a 997 they came as standard without the sunroof, so that was an option. So there's less around with a sunroof than without, unlike the 996s where it's the polar opposite. We've got, of course, the PCM satellite navigation system. We've also got the heated seats on both sides. We haven't got sports chrono, which have a stopwatch there for when you take it to a track. But we have got the PASM switchable suspension, which again, I had an operation just now during that spirited driving. So yeah, I think that just about covers everything. I've left the facelifted taillights in because this car's already gone live on the website and had the walk around video done, and there were people commenting saying that it was a nice touch, so I've left those in. So yeah, really lovely car, hard to find with that mileage and that spec. Atlas grey's gorgeous. Of all the neutral colours, the silvers and the seal grey and black, that would be my colour of choice. So there we go.